Hey everyone, welcome back to Random Studios. My name is Ken, and we are back with the Random Coding Challenge. How random is random? Let's fix that, shall we? Let's not be dum-dums here. Okay, I want to apologize in advance. You probably didn't hear anything I said, so I'm gonna just cut that out because I forgot my microphone. So I'm gonna cut that out, and we're just gonna go over this real quick one more time. So I changed the right to make the button more centered. I also changed the width to make it more compact, and so it's not huge; it's more compact. And we're also changing the colors of the button. I tried a bunch of different colors. I'm not really landing on a great set, so I'm going back to dark gray and black to see how this is. So we're going to refresh. And that looks okay. I mean, it doesn't look great, but that looks okay. But now, there's one more thing we have to do with this button. Okay, so I'm going to try this. I don't know if this is going to work. Does that work? Because I think you have to do it separate. Yeah, you have to do it separate. Okay. So let's make a separate. I was trying to be sneakies. Let's copy this. Copy. And then on roll, hover, we're going to do background color is going to be white. Not D-white. Not D-white. D-white's, that's crazy. Not D-white. White. And then, I guess we'll leave the regular color, right? All right, so save all. So basically all I did here, and when you grab this in GitHub, everything's going to be commented. I'm going to go through, once I finish the entire project, I'm going to go through and comment everything. I may do that before the video ends, I'm not sure, but just know it may look a little different if you get it from GitHub. That's because all the commenting should be there. Alright, so basically what I did was, in order to get the color to change when your mouse highlights the button, all you have to do is make a separate CSS instance of the same element. So ours is roll, because that's what the button is. So we have the instance of roll on hover. So this is just regular roll. This is just regular button. And then this is button on hover. And I kept everything the same except I changed the background color. So let's save it. Oh, I already saved it. Now let's find out if it works. And then refresh. And let's see. Let's hover over it. Boom! Look at that. Beautiful. So now we know the button's highlighted. That's fine. I'm not going to go too crazy into, because that actually, it bothers me that it's the gray and white. It's not good. It doesn't look right. But I'm not going crazy into UI right now. This is just, the project doesn't consist on UI. It's about getting the random numbers to pop up and see how random actually is. That's the whole point of this project, is to see how Math.Random actually is. So now we're done with CSS. Okay, now we're going to get up to JavaScript. So the first thing we have to do in JavaScript is create the variables. So let's do that now. Oh, actually, the first thing we have to do in JavaScript is create a JavaScript file. Now, also keep in mind, you can do all JavaScript and all CSS within the HTML. You just have to put the tags for it, such as the style tag for CSS. You'd put style and open style, close style, and then everything of CSS in there. I like to keep it separate just because it's more coherent. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to right click, I'm going to do new file. So what makes an IDE is that you'll notice all these different colors. So it highlights every bit of code in a different color so you know what's going on. And it'll shoot up errors when you made a syntax mistake. So in order for Visual Code to understand that it's an IDE, you have to save it as some kind of file. If you just save it, it's going to pop up as, I think it pops up as a random TXT. And then the IDE won't actually start working. You have to actually save it as a JavaScript, HTML, C++, or whatever you're using for the IDE to start taking effect. But once you do it, it automatically takes effect. So I saved it as a .js. Now our file is in that folder. It's right here. And we have it. Okay, this is bothering me. JavaScript goes after CSS. Okay. It doesn't. It's just how I do it. So now we have a JavaScript. So the first thing we have to do is create our variables. Okay, so we have our global variables set, A through E, and they all equal 0. This is a global variable, which means anything you put under here can call these variables. If I were to put these within a function, they would not be a global variable anymore, and only things within that function could call the variable. Yeah, I gotta be honest, this is driving me bananas. Can I try? Okay, so in JavaScript, when you call variable, you just call var, short for variable. But I started learning code from Java and C++, which I believe in both. You have to actually call the instance of what it is. So if it's a number, you would call it an int. Oh, wait, can I do that? I'm not int L. No, I'm not seeing it. Ugh. So in other languages, you would call exactly what it is, and I don't know. I feel like it looks a lot nicer because it tells more information. But fine, we'll just use var. If anyone else knows if you can actually do that in JavaScript in a way, let me know in the comments, because that would make me feel so much better. Okay, so we have our instance of variables, and now what I want to do is, before we get into the random side of things, I want to make sure this works, right? So we have the variables, but how do I know that the computer is actually reading that variable a equals 0? And aside from that, I want to make sure that we can get that message to our HTML page correctly. So let's look at that now. Let's build that now. Okay, so before we actually get into bringing our variable 0 to our HTML sheet, we have to remember to connect it, right? Like we do with CSS. So what you want to do is right in the head where we put the style sheet for CSS, and for the icon, we want to put in a script. Now, this doesn't matter if it goes up on top of these or below these. That doesn't matter. Just put it somewhere over here, and you're going to put script source, src, equals, and then the name of whatever your file is. For me, it's howrandomisrandom.js, and then close the script. And this will allow HTML to grab all the JavaScript functionality and bring it over to the HTML. So now that that's done, we can actually start building our connection from JavaScript to HTML to the message. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to make a function. Now, function is essentially, think about like a video game, and you have a cake in the video game, right? And this cake is going to give you 3 hearts. Please try and stay with me. I know I'm probably not doing a great job of explaining this, but so the function would be the cake, and inside the cake is all the things that the cake can do. So it can give you hearts, what color the cake is, what image pops up. All that stuff fits inside the cake. So that's what a function is. A function is something you call, which you already have pre-existing lines inside that function that tells whatever it is what to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab the document .getElementById equals a, which is going to be variable a, so it should print out as 0. But before we do that, we have to add something to grab, right? So this is going to grab Word. So now we have this document grabbing Word and then printing a on it. Problem is we don't have Word, right? So we're going to go back to our HTML. And right under here, right under mbox, I'm going to create another div. Okay? Div ID equals, and now we're going to call, not question mark. Oh, we're not sure what it equals. No. We're going to write Word. Not words. We got to get this right. Okay? And now we're going to / div. It already made a div, so I'm making double divs. That's great. Okay, so now what this is going to do, it's going to grab this div and print a inside. The last thing we have to do is go to the CSS property, okay, and should we put it under mbox? You know, let's just put it all the way down here. So we're going to put it all the way down here. We're going to, stop hitting the mic. We're going to use sharp because it's a div ID, okay, and then we're going to make Word, please stop it, Word, open it up, and now I'm just going to put a bunch of stuff in here. We'll come back, and then I'll explain everything. Okay, so we have our Word div, right? And we made the position absolute. Remember that the position and the top and the left are going to show where it is on the screen. So that's what those 3 do. We have the color black. So this is extremely important. Do I want to change it? No, I'll leave it black. This is extremely important because it's the actual color of the text. So you want to make sure you put a color. Otherwise, I don't actually know if it would show up. We have text align center. So hopefully that will align the text right in the center. And then we have it displayed inline block. So it's going to be displayed within the block that we made. And we chose a font size of 40 pixels. So now let's save all this. And then let's open this up. And now we're going to refresh. And it still doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Oh, that's why it doesn't work. Because I'm a simpleton. Okay, so there's one more thing that we actually have to do here that I did not do. So we have our div ID Word, and we have the CSS and the JavaScript built up. What we don't have is when to call it. So our system sees that everything's there, but it's like, all right, when do you want me to put this in the box? So what we're going to do is we're going to go to button class equals role, and right after that, we're going to do space on click, whoops, on click, what did I name the function? Message. Okay, so on click, we're going to do equals, and then what I named it, message. Papa. Nope, that's not it. That's not. There you go. Message function. So basically what this says is we have a button class called role. When we click it, it's going to run the function message from right here. And this function says grab the element word and place a, variable a inside, which should be 0. Now, we save all. We open this up. Get rid of my personal information. All right, and now we refresh. And now we should see it. Ready? Why didn't it work? Okay, I'm back. So I was having so much trouble figuring this out. Okay, so if you look, so I think I showed you all this. I put on-click message, okay, because message is a function, right? So in here, we're calling the button class role. When it's clicked, it's gonna produce our function, which is message. And message is gonna get element by ID. It's gonna place hello inside of word, which is right here, div word. So it should go inside the message box under the word, right? So I go here, and then I hit refresh, and then we hit roll, and absolutely nothing happens. And for the life of me, I could not figure out why. So combing through my code, and this is why it's extremely important to try and pay as close as attention to the little details. Even though this isn't, I guess this isn't really a little detail, but it's I easily missed it. I'm combing through my code, I can't find it, and then I realized something's missing here. I forgot to put the inner HTML. All that little line, and my code wouldn't work. So now I save it. So it's saved. We go back here. We refresh. And we hit roll. Boom! And it's in there. Now we can move it. Let's actually move it. Why isn't it centered, though? Didn't I put center? Let's see. Word center. Text align, but it's not center. Okay, so let's. I'm just going to toy with these numbers a little bit until I can get something that looks good to me. So let's save. Save and toy with the numbers. Yeah, that looks good enough. Okay, so now we have officially conquered our first hurdle, which is getting something from JavaScript, some text from JavaScript, to appear here in HTML so we can see it, right? So now let's make sure our variables are working, okay? So instead of hello, we're going to have it print, whoops, guys. We're going to have it print A. Variable A, so it should print 0. So let's see if that works. Okay. Boom! We got a 0. Am I right? Am I right? Okay, so this is all good. This is all looking great. Now it's time for the random function. Okay, so now this may look a little confusing, but we're going to go over it right now together. So first of all, we're going to call our variable A again, which is 0 right now, okay? But we're going to call our global variable A. And that's going to be equal to math.floor. Now, math.floor, I don't know if it's the biggest or the closest integer. So if you have, let's say, 7.35, it's going to return 7, right? Because it's not a floating point, it's an integer, which is, you know, nothing after the decimal. So this is going to return the closest integer. Now you're going to do math.random, which is going to give you a random number up to a highest number, times, I'm not doing a good job of explaining this, am I? Let me try again. Okay, so math.floor just gets rid of the remainder. It just gets rid of the number after decimal. So if you have 11.5, it's going to be 11, okay? Now, math.random is going to post a random number, okay? So you have, I don't know, 7. Let's just say it says 7. Now, this is the closest floating point. So this could have remainders. So we're going to do, what is this? I don't know, 7.5. Now you're going to times that by math.floor again, getting rid of the remainder. You get it? So this is so you always get a random number without a floating point or decimal point, right? And then I put a 10 here, being so it can only go up to 10. So all of this, we're going to get a random number in variable A. And now we're going to repeat this for each variable and see what happens. Okay, so now we want this to print. Now, can I use commas in JavaScript, or is that just other? Well, you know what? Let's find out. If not, I'll just do it on separate lines. A, B, C, D, E. I mean, even if this works, I'm probably not going to do it this way anyway because there's no line break, so it's all going to be next to each other. But let's just see if this works. So we save it and roll. 6. Okay, so something's working. And I actually believe something is working, but I don't think this is working. Correct? Correct. Yeah, this is definitely, it didn't work the other way, because if you notice before, these were shaded out, these letters. Now they're bright. So this should work now. It's only showing me 5. Why is it only showing me 5? Okay, so what I did was I created a div for each one. So we have word 1, word 2, word 3, word 4. And then in the JavaScript, I created the same instances. I have to change these, though. So I created the same instances. So word 1, 2, 3, 4, holding different values. So we should get multiple. Now the only thing I have to do in CSS is change their position. So we're going to change this to 5. We're going to change each number by 5. So word 1 is 55. Word 2 is 60. I don't know how this is going to look. I should actually, no, actually that's wrong. I don't want them next to each other, right? I want them, I want them below each other. So let's, whoop, I hit the green screen. Change this from 40 to 45, and then we'll go to 50. I just don't know if this is going to be too much. 55, and then 60. Now, this should work. If it does work, then I'll go over it again. Whoops, I opened my calendar. Nobody look. Nobody look. Let's roll. Yes, it worked. Beautiful. All right, so let me kind of explain what I ended up doing. I'm not exactly happy with it, but it works. For this video, I'm just going to leave it the way it is. But how we did this was, I thought we can put them together on one line, but I couldn't get that working properly. So what I did was I just created 5 instances of document get element by ID, and then I created word 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I correspond those with each variable. Okay, and since we already have them doing random from up to 11, this is going to populate a random number from 0 to 11, and it's going to put it in these divs. But since I made those, I had to make more divs. So we have div word 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's pretty much the basis of that. And then for CSS, I just had to copy and paste the words. So we already had this one, word, and all the attributes for it. What I did was I copy and pasted into word 1, 2, 3, and 4, changing the name, of course. And then I just added 5 to each top, so the numbers would go down, 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 instead of, I could have done it on the left, but then they would have went next to each other, and I felt that was a little, ugh. Again, I know that this isn't very fancy looking, but it works. Okay, so each number is being randomly generated from 0 to 11. Now, to really test this so let's see what we got. I said I was going to roll dice, right? The problem is, the only dice I have is a D20. I don't know if that's focusing. All I have is a D20 with me. So, we're going to have to change some things. So, let's go back into our JavaScript, and let's make this, whoa, stop it now, 21, okay. Now that the program is complete, the whole point of this exercise was to see how random the Math.Random function actually is, am I right? So, I'm going to roll this 10 times, and I'm going to write the numbers down. And we'll go from there and see if it's, see if we can get enough information from that. If not, then I'll roll it again. So I'm not going to do that on camera because I feel like that's going to be extremely boring for you guys to watch me just roll a D20. But I'll be back. Okay, so on the right side, we have the numbers I rolled. Again, pardon my atrocious handwriting. We wrote the numbers. I actually rolled 30 times. I rolled 30 times just so we can click this button a bunch more times and see what numbers come up. So our first numbers are 1, 10, 2, 1, 4. Now, we're not trying to compare these numbers versus these numbers. It's like, all right, this is a 1, that's a 10. We're trying to see a pattern, right? So in this, I would say there are more numbers under 10 than there are numbers 10 and up. Okay, so that's the first 5 numbers. So 1, 10, 2, 1, 4. And that would be 10, 1, 14, 5, 4. Roll again. 0, 8, 4, 0, 7. Okay, that's 2. So it's kind of a mixed bag I'm seeing. But then again, I think so is this one. So I'm not seeing too much of a pattern, which is good. We got double 9s, but that's going to happen from time to time. Yeah, I'm not seeing too much of a pattern. Yeah, so this is actually working pretty well for random. I mean, if you look at it rolling it dice-wise, I know for me personally, I am terrible at rolling dice. As much as I love it, I always get low numbers. And it has to do with how I roll the dice. Even when you roll a dice, it's not inherently random, right? Because you're rolling the same way over and over again. But let's try something else. I want to see how much we can push this. So what if we do 121? Will that change our answers at all? Refresh. Let's see. So now let's roll. Okay, so we got 51, 61, 107, 89, 116, 74, 117. Actually, no. That is actually pretty cool. Let's go a bit higher, shall we? I want to see if there's a point. If you get to a point where it's not random anymore. And if I can get to that point, I'll explain. Let's do 1,121. All right, so it looks like no matter how high we go, it's still saying it's still pretty random. I'm not seeing too many. So again, what we're looking for is patterns, and I'm not really seeing any patterns because if you look, even as high as 1,000, and I can't even imagine rolling a 1,000-sided die, you're still getting low numbers like 73. You're still getting 127. You're still getting low numbers like 78. I honestly assumed that the higher you go, the least likely you're not going to see any of these numbers. But apparently, it is actually working. I may try and do this in another language just to see, and maybe I'll post a video on that to see if it changes any. Because now I want to see if there's a difference between Math.Random and another random function. And I'm wondering if that random function is any different than this random function. I'm spiraling down the random function rabbit hole. All right, so this project is done. We have successfully created a web browser interface that allows us to take 5 groups of numbers, randomize them, to test how the Math.Random function actually works. And honestly, it works really well. I guess that's no surprise because, pretty intelligent people must have created this. But I just wanted to see how random. I didn't honestly think it was going to work as random as I thought. I thought we'd see a lot more patterns. And from what I can tell, I'm not seeing any real patterns. Now, of course, this isn't inherently random. If you go to any website looking at the actual code, it will tell you that it's pseudo-random, meaning it's false random, because the definition of random, I think we mentioned it, but if we didn't, I'm going to mention it again. Definition of random is that it is not planned. And when you're creating an algorithm for any type of program, it's planned. So it's not inherently random, but it's pseudo-random. And this works really well. I don't think I would get any different results by rolling a die, except for the fact that I always roll bad. So even on a 1,000 die, I would roll a 1. That's just my luck. I hope everyone enjoyed this video. I think I will post another video comparing this. I think I'm going to run the same exact program, only in C#, and compare the two and see if there's any difference. So, but I'll do that on my own time. I won't make a video like this. I'll just make a video at the end showing you what the code does and then testing it out. Like I said in the beginning, this is going to be on my GitHub if you want to grab it. I'm going to post both videos at the same time, so the GitHub will be there. It's only going to be one GitHub section. They're not going to be separated. I'm going to comment all this out. I'm going to post it to GitHub, and then we're all good to go. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, put a comment in the comment section below. If you didn't, put a comment in the comment section below anyway. Let me know what you liked and what you didn't like and what you want to see on the channel. I do want to point out, though, if you did like this video, thumbs up, whatever it is in YouTube. I don't know. I see a lot of guys doing this. Do that to let me know to do more, because I'm having a lot of fun doing these random programming challenges, but my biggest fear is that it's kind of boring for people who don't like programming. And if you don't like it, please leave a comment in the comment section below explaining why. Like, tell me what would make it better, because I really do want to do more of these. So if maybe I can throw in animations when I'm editing, or just let me know, and then I'll be able to fix them up. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, stay pixel perfect.